Hey folks, once again, it is me, RiggerM71. Given the fact that the Ghostbusters franchise has experienced somewhat of a resurgence lately, I thought I would take the opportunity to revisit one of the more interesting games to be released over the years. So consider this my somewhat late review of Ghostbusters the video game from 2009.
Yeah! Ghostbusters the video game.
Well, this is my rap for the video game. I know it ain't right and it ain't the same. I tried real hard to make it tight. You see, I couldn't use the theme cause of copyright. Wish I had money, wish I had fame. Hell, I wish I had a better song for this game. Sorry if it sucks and sorry it's bad, but it's just about over and you're probably glad.
Word. Ghostbusters the video game. Peace.
Ghostbusters has definitely seen its share of video game adaptations. The Nintendo, Commodore 64, Sega Genesis, the Game Boy, and a long list of other systems have all ended up with something. My first title was the version released for the Commodore 64. Originally developed by Activision, this is more or less the same game released on all home computers of the period. Although the graphics and gameplay are pretty basic, in 1985 it was all my friends and I had available to satisfy the intense desire to bust ghosts. We inevitably ended up playing it multiple times over the course of the Commodore's lifespan. However, time moves forward, as it often does, and computers and consoles quickly became more powerful. So in 2009, Terminal Reality developed Ghostbusters the video game for the PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. The majority of this review is focused on the PC version. Although pretty much identical to its console counterparts, it apparently received slightly more mixed reviews after release. Despite that, I found it to be a pretty decent title. When considering how many terrible console ports the PC has received in the past, I definitely feel like Terminal Reality did the best job they could here. In terms of graphics, you're given a fair assortment of video options in the main menu. Cranking everything to high makes the game look pretty good to me, even in 2016. The only thing that's really missing is an anti-aliasing option, so I suggest anyone with a graphics card made in the last few years to try forcing it through the driver control panel. I'm using an AMD Radeon card, and doing that appears to work fine for me. As for the control system, you're given the choice between a keyboard and mouse or a controller. There are advantages and disadvantages to both, but given the fact that I'm more used to a mouse at this point as opposed to an analog stick, I just stuck with the keyboard and mouse. It initially seemed like the mouse look sensitivity was set far too high, so I immediately decreased it to a more tolerable level. I suspect anyone using a high DPI gaming mouse will have to do the same here. There was also the fact that I had to get used to the third-person view. Not that I haven't played third-person games before, but it has been a while, and I needed some time to acclimate. I went through a similar thing when I played the 2013 Tomb Raider game. Having said all that, trapping ghosts with a proton stream is actually a lot of fun. You can tell the developers really put some effort and thought into the physics. The stream bends and tosses itself back and forth in relation to your mouse movement. You can even slam ghosts into the ground to tire them out. Tossing out a trap and ultimately catching a ghost gives a satisfying light and sound show that makes you feel like you actually did something cool. The story and general gameplay are probably the most interesting elements of this title. The main reason for this being that the script was actually written by Dan Aykroyd and the late Harold Ramis. Not only that, it features the voice talents of Aykroyd, Ramis, Bill Murray, and Ernie Hudson. Even Annie Potts and William Atherton reprised their roles as Janine and Walter Peck, respectively. So in other words, this is effectively Ghostbusters 3. And yes, I am aware of the new movie that was released a short time ago. However, given the shitstorm it seems to have stirred up, I will be avoiding that subject like the plague. The story presents your character to the group as the new rookie Ghostbuster. After a brief introduction and tutorial, you're pretty much thrown into the action. Although there are 3 difficulty settings, they seem to primarily revolve around how often you need to revive your teammates. So if you're mostly just interested in the story and don't care to be thrust into the role of medic, I'd recommend trying the casual setting first. As the story progresses, you earn money for trapping ghosts and generally just doing your job. You can then use this cash to upgrade your equipment. In addition to that, there are various artifacts scattered around town that you can find using the PKE meter. This is the game's version of collectables, and does give you a little something extra to do while following the guys around the city. The game isn't terribly long, and appears to take most people somewhere between 8 and 10 hours to complete. I suppose it could take a bit longer for completionists that need to explore every nook and cranny and find every artifact. I definitely feel like this is one of the better Ghostbusters games I've played so far, and it's worth having in your collection regardless of whether you pick it up for the PC, Xbox 360, or PS3. It's also worth mentioning that a slightly different version of the game was released for the Nintendo Wii and the PlayStation 2. Developed by a separate studio, this version features a more cartoon approach to the graphics, I assume because of the processor limitations inherent to the Wii and PS2. The gameplay and level design, although slightly different, still follow the same basic story. So if you have a Wii or an old PS2 sitting around, it might be worth picking up. I played the PS2 version years ago and do recall enjoying the game quite a bit. And if that isn't enough for you, there's also an entirely different game for the Nintendo DS, although I've never played that one. So in summary, if you haven't played this title and trapping dead people in small metal boxes is your kind of thing, I suggest giving it a try. The PC version is currently available on Steam for $10, which, to be honest, is a pretty good deal. As usual, feel free to give this video a like or subscribe if it was remotely helpful or entertaining, and don't be shy about leaving a comment down below. There, somewhere. So until next time, take care, and of course, have fun.
When someone asks you if you're a god, you say, yes!